Welcome back everyone, Patrick here. Moving on to another question dealing with circles. So we have to find the equation of a circle that has its center at the origin and then passes through each of these points over here. So we're going to be dealing with 4 different circles here, and then we have to state the radius of each circle as well. Now, one thing I want to mention, when it's centered at the origin, that's in this particular section, that's what we're going to be dealing with mostly. So the center of the circle is going to be here, so we could either have a circle like that, like that, like that, all different radiuses, but the center is going to be at the origin. Whenever you have a circle with the center at the origin, it's always in the format x squared plus y squared equals r squared, where this r is the radius. Now we will go through videos in the future where the center of the circle is somewhere other than the origin, and then that means that this left side here, it's going to be in a different format. You're going to have like x minus 1 squared, for example, plus y plus 3 squared, right? This left side is going to be different. There's going to be more going on here, right? While this is still going to stay the same. This is still going to be the radius squared. But whenever it's centered at the origin or centered at 0 and 0, this is the general format that it's in, and that's what we're going to be using for all of these. So to find the equation, well, notice we're given points on the circle. Really, what we have to find is just that right side, and it's really easy to do. We can just plug in the corresponding x and y values. So we plug in 8 for x, and then we plug in 6 for y, so we'd have 64 plus 36, and then notice that this here would give us 100, and that's the r squared, and that's the entire right side. So the equation of this would be x squared plus y squared is equal to 100, like that. You don't square root this yet. That's when you're getting the radius, which we will get in a sec as well. But usually this value over here, it's just a number. It's not something squared, right? So the r squared, which is the right side, in this case is just equal to 100. So we plug in the 100 there. That's the equation of a circle that contains this point on it. And then if you want to get the radius from here, we would square root this, and we would end up with 10. Sometimes you'll see circles be given in this kind of format, right, where you actually have the radius to the power of 2, but more so than likely you're going to have that. But maybe a multiple choice question, you'd get a question like this, and maybe this won't be there, but this will be there, right? So you got to be able to adjust between each of these. This is a nice format because you can get the radius right away. Over here, you got to do a little bit of work to get the radius. Right, so either of those work. Again, this is the more popular one. That's probably what you're going to see in the back of a textbook if you get a question like this. So that's the equation, that's the radius. And then you just follow this exact format for all of these. So you plug in -3 for x here, -4 for y, that's going to be r squared, so we would end up with +9, +16, so we'd end up with 25. So the equation here would be x squared plus y squared is equal to 25. If you want to get the radius, square root this, you would end up with 5. Right, so the equation of a circle that has this point on it, this is the equation. The radius of the circle is that right there. Next one, we got 5 and 1, so we'd have 5 squared plus 1 squared, which is equal to r squared. So this would be 25 plus 1, which gives us 26. So the equation for this would be that right there. If you want to get the radius, square root this, and we would end up with root 26, which would be 5 point something if you wanted to get the decimals. I'm going to keep it as an exact value, and then this exact value you can't simplify any further because 26 doesn't have a rootable factor. Okay, so 4 is not a factor, 9 is not a factor, 16 is not a factor, etc. Right, so this here would end up being the radius of a circle that contains this point. The equation for it is this over here. And then root 10 and 3, so just be careful with these roots. So we'll have root 10 squared plus 3 squared. Now, whenever you have, just in general, the root of something squared, well, it's just going to be the value under that root, right? So root 10 to the power of 2 is just 10. Okay, it's not 100. If it was 10 to the power of 2, then it would be 100. But root 10 to the power of 2 is just 10. 3 to the power of 2 is 9. Okay, so we would end up with 19 over here. So the equation of this is x squared plus y squared is equal to 19. If you want the radius, just square root this, get the r by itself. We'd have root 19, right? Or it would be 4 point something if you wanted to get the decimal, right? So that's how you find the equation of a circle. If you're given a coordinate, just plug in the coordinate for the x and y, and then just see what that r squared is going to equal, and then just put that on the right side. If you want to get the radius, just square root that right side. And then that's the process.